Welcome back to Lessons Learned. I'm Sherry. This is your Wednesday video. For Wednesday right now, we're in the middle of a quilt along taken out of the American Patchwork and Quilting magazine, June 2025. And we are doing the pick and mix found on page 16. And we're doing these blocks here with some background and then some kind of muted pieces along the edges and some auxiliary blocks here in between that pull the quilt together. So last week we did our cutting. If you look at the schedule here, I don't know if you can see that. I might put it up on the screen for you. Week 1, May 16th through 22nd, we gathered and cut our fabrics. So that is what I have here. If you can see most of my board. I did discover that I cut squares instead of rectangles for this size right here, so I had to recut those. But now that we're in week 2, we're going to start constructing some of our blocks. So let me get to that page, and that is page 18. And what we're going to be doing is these corner units of our blocks and these side units. So you'll have 4 of each. So I'm going to pull off of my board here everything that I need to construct those. So for our corner units, we're going to use background, the shortest of your background strips, that's a rectangle, and then your squares in your background fabric, and then your colors from your layer cake. That is what is going to make up your corner pieces. And then your side pieces will be these, which is your layer cake rectangles, and then these most narrow little strips of your background. So this is what we're going to work with this week. We're not going to work with anything that involves this or your newsprint or your other low volume that you're using for the shoe fly blocks and the borders. So, and then these longer sashing pieces, we don't need those. And we're not going to touch our center pieces of the blocks this week. That will be week 3. So I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way. So the easiest one would be this one. So all we're going to have to do is put one of these on each side of our blocks, of our corner units, or side units. This is a side unit. So that needs to go on the inside. So if you have anything that has direction to it and you want that a certain way, then you'll have to pay attention. But for the most part, since we have these going around like this, you're probably not going to be able to control that completely. Like this one is a word print, text, words. It's got words on it. So, I could make this one and this one straight up and down, but then these are going to be sideways. So, if that's something that bothers you and you have a certain way that you want those to come out, you'll have to pay attention to what side you put these on. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. You can just sit here and sew these onto the sides of all of these, because all of them are going to get one. Okay, so that's the first set that we do. And then our next set that we do are our corner pieces, which are these. And so it's going to work out like this. Let's just say this is our first corner piece here. Your color piece is going down in the inside corner, and then this, and then this. So you're going to actually put these together first, and you can do all of them. You don't have to, pull out 4 and and so on and so forth. That'll come with when we put this all together in week 3. So you can just go ahead and sew these together, these pairs together, and then once you get those all prepared, then sew this on. Now this will have to be on the left side if you're looking at your colored square down the farthest, or on the bottom. So you'll have to put those on the left side of these two units once you get those together. So I'm just going to go ahead and set up here and sew all of these on first probably, and then I'll start sewing these together. And then once I get these together, I'll put these sides on. And I should have 16 sets of those in each color. Okay, let's get started. Now you can pin, you can do a little dot of glue, whatever you like to do. I don't pin typically, just to save time. I just make sure I'm on the edge there nice and straight and hang on to it. And go ahead and put it under my sewing machine, and I use my 1/4 inch foot. I'm using a 2.0 stitch length, and I do back stitch 1 stitch at the beginning and end of each seam. But we can do our chain piecing with this. I am kind of paying attention to this text one, just to kind of see how it might turn out on those upper and lower sections on the block, in case there's a way I want those turned. But I believe the rest of my prints are pretty much any way you turn it is fine. Okay, so the instructions, I was looking at those, and if you see the arrows on these finished pieces, whoops, I got one not completely sewn there. You press up towards your colored square. So when you press, you'll just press this way. So I'm just going to leave that for later. I'm going to go ahead and do some more of my sewing here, and I obviously need to finish sewing this one. That was where I ran out of bobbin and did some air sewing for a few pieces. About 3 pieces I air sewed. So I had to go back and fix all of those, but I guess I forgot this one. So now our next 1/4 unit that we're going to do, we're going to put these together. So you can just pick these up one side, put one on one side, one on the other, pick them up and sew. That's what I do. Alright, after that we will have to iron these before we put the side piece on. So, be right back. So the instructions on these is to press towards the dark side. And I did press one open, but I have decided to press toward the dark side because this is so light there would be a shadow if I opened it. So I think I'm going to press towards the dark side. There's no intersecting seams anyway. So when I go to put these on, there's not going to be any issue with, you know, nesting seams. But I'm just doing it because I don't want that shadowing. So now I need to put this side on these units once I get all of these pressed. And like I said, it's going to have to go like this. You can do them all like this. Just put this stack over here and your stack of these over here, and then just join them and chain stitch those, and then we'll just be turning them around to fit in each corner. They're all sewn the same way. In these pairs, as far as feeding them in, make sure this one's on top, and your seam that you've pushed it downward, you've ironed towards the dark side, you'll be able to see it and it won't get flipped, whereas if you turned it over to the other side, it might flip on you. This way you don't have to think about it. You just put it over the top like that and sew that right side. Nothing's going to flip. So here are the first ones that I sewed together, and I may have misspoken saying putting this strip on both sides. I didn't intend to say that. It's only on one side, and then we're going to press this up towards the dark side on all of these that we did earlier. So that's a real easy thing to do. All we have to do is I just hold mine kind of up in the air, my dark side up in the air, and then just push my iron over gently without causing any crazy curves or anything in my seam. So I'm just gonna go through and continue to do those like that, and then after I get a pretty good stack of those going across, I'll put one of my presses on top of it, and then those will be ready for next week. Now these ones that we just did, I added this piece on, so all of these, the seam goes towards that big background piece. And yes, I am going to get some shadowing with that. I managed to avoid it here by pressing to the dark side, but I will have a little bit of shadowing on that, whether I opened it or pressed it toward it. So I just am paying attention to what the pattern is suggesting, and that was to press towards this piece. And just watch for those little arrows on the figures that they have in the pattern, and that will guide you in which way to press your seams. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of these, and these stacks will be going back on my project board for next week, and we'll continue on with the next week's assignment. Okay, so I have my 2 stacks done. I have my corners and my side pieces for my blocks. Next week we'll be putting those blocks together with the centerpieces. Won't that be fun? This took about, I don't know, 3 hours maybe? You could easily do it in an afternoon, all of it. But if you want to spread it out over the entire week, you could probably do maybe 10 a day of each set here. I think there's 64 altogether, something like that. Maybe 84 is what it is. Either way, I think if you did, 10 of each stack a day, you would easily get it finished in a week if you're kind of pressed on time. And that wouldn't take but, I don't know, 30 minutes maybe. So not a bad task for the week 2. So I hope you get busy on yours and get that going. And also wanted to direct your attention to my wool mats that I use. This is not a wool pressing mat. This is a project board. I had some questions on it, so I thought I would just point out what these are. I've got just a hard sign board, rigid sign board. I used some wool batting from Joann's, which we don't have anymore, so you would have to source that online, or possibly your local quilt store would have some. Just get a couple yards of that, and I've used a muslin as my binding. I just super glued that on, hot glued it actually, and I have a video on this, so I will include that video in the notes of this video, so you can access that and see how I how I put this together, and I would really like to make some more myself. I need to get some more wool. I may have enough wool to make some smaller size, but these are, I think they're 18 by 18, maybe 20 by 20 these ones are that I have. I have 2 of these. So very nice, very nice. And you can stack your projects. Like if I had another project completely unrelated to this, I could just stack this one on top of it, and all of my projects can be out and accessible when I'm ready to work on them. So there we are for this week for the pick and mix, and I hope you are able to get your week 2 assignment done and post your progress on our Facebook, Lessons Learnt, and also on the American Patchwork and Quilting magazine, a group over there, and they can see what we're doing over here. So kind of a nice exchange there. All right, I'll see you back here for week 3 next Wednesday. Bye.